So good morning. I'm turning my Bible over to the book or the Gospel according to Mark. Hopefully you can see me there. Yeah. How to study the Bible. I think this is part 5. I want to talk some more about context. I think in the last lesson we discussed cultural context. This time I'm going to talk about context in general and how it's important that we seek to understand the original meaning of a text when a text was written. If there is an account that the author is writing about, like we're going to see in Mark chapter 7, here where Yeshua has a discussion with some Pharisee elders, what was taking place in that particular account, and we're going to deal with some culture as well. So we've got to interpret the Bible in the way and the manner that it was originally written at that time, at that culture, in that area. It's very important that we don't assign meanings that we just pull like a rabbit out of a hat, or else we can make it say anything we want. Recently, I was listening to some guys discuss how to interpret the Constitution of the United States of America. So this video I'm doing is not pro or anti-Constitution. I'm just using it as an example. But one of the guys was arguing that the Constitution needed to be understood in the context in which it was originally written. And the other guy believed that we should let it breathe and develop with culture and all that kind of stuff. Well, I believe that the first guy was accurate. I think that we need to do our best to get into the shoes, so to speak, of the authors of that document and interpret that document through their glasses, through the lens that they're using. We can't come up with some kind of modern day context or interpretation and think that that one thwarts or trumps the original intent of the author. So, case in point, let me show you how we do this. In Mark chapter 7, we have a situation here where, I'll start in verse 1. It says that the Pharisees and some of the scribes who had come from Jerusalem gathered around him. They observed that some of his disciples were eating their bread with unclean, that is, unwashed hands. For the Pharisees, in fact, all the Jews, will not eat unless they wash their hands ritually, keeping the tradition of the elders. Now, the reason this is important that we begin in verse 1 of Mark 7 is it forms a context of the passage. So we see here that there is a ritual, a Jewish ritual, that is being not observed by the disciples of Yeshua, but obviously was observed by the Pharisees. The reason it's important for us to understand that is when we get down to verse, let's say, 18, and verse 18, Yeshua says, "Are you also as lacking in understanding? Don't you realize that nothing going into a man from the outside can defile him?" Now, there's a lot that I could say about the chapter, but a lot of people will quote a verse like verse 18 and say, there's nothing that goes into a man that can defile him. And they'll use that verse to say, well, we can eat pork and it's not a sin. We can do drugs. We can snort cocaine. I know you might think that's an extreme example, but if you take the verse out of context, people can say crazy things like that, and it's not defiling us. They say, well, it's not what goeth into a man that defiles us. Well, there are some things that can defile our body when we put them inside of us. Verse 18, when Yeshua said, it's not that which goeth into a man that defiles him, he wasn't making a full blanket statement about anything that you put into your mouth. You know, I don't want to go outside and pick some poison oak and put it in a pot and boil it and eat it. That's going to harm me and could, in fact, kill me, i.e., defile my body, the creation that Yahweh has blessed me with. The context that Yeshua is referring to is back to the ritual of making sure the Pharisees made sure that their hands were washed prior to till they ate. Excuse me. We're not talking about washing your hands before you come to dinner like Mama used to tell us. Make sure you wash up before you come to the dinner table. That's not what we're discussing. We're discussing a ritual washing of hands. And that is the context of Mark 7, verse 18. Yeshua is saying that, look, it's not about the Pharisees' ritual. It's about what comes out from the heart that defiles a man. And you can read that. Maybe I'll go more over this in the next lesson. My point on this is that we must determine what a text means by going back to what it originally meant. Whatever it originally meant is what it still means today. And if we try to say that that's not the case, then we can pretty much put anything in that we want to put in. So context, context, context. I'm sure I'm going to make probably another video on context before this is over with. I hope you have a great day, and I hope that helps you out. Shalom.